Whole new day of the World Team League. I hope you guys are having fun. I hope you guys have been enjoying this event so far. We've had some, like I say, good matches, and I think this could be a great one. This is ByuN in the top right-hand side, as we have Glitter and Ashes, map number 1, taking on the Red Zerg in the bottom left-hand corner. From KAIZI Gaming, it is Solar. Hello, welcome, and I hope you guys are having a fantastic time. This match is going to be pretty good, I think, and so I will just preface it with a quick little hello to the YouTube channel. Thank you so much, everybody, continuing to watch on YouTube and continue to enjoy all the events and so on. I hope you guys are still doing great, still having a great time watching, and just thank you so much for tuning in. If you do have a moment to spare, a like on the video, it goes a long way, and do check if you're subscribed to the channel already. Obviously, we would love to start pushing 40,000 YouTube subs, if at all possible. We've been kind of lingering just out of reach of 40k for a long time. I'd love to make that final push there, so if you can help us with that, then we'd love you for it. Otherwise, the ZVT gets started with a little bit of a drone scout. Solar is not convinced that ByuN won't just proxy on this fairly large, typically Zerg-favored map. Again, the way the maps work in the World Team League is the fact that every player gets sent out in an order, so you don't actually know the first map of the series when you pick your players in this event anymore. They actually changed that rule, so you just send your players out in any order you want, and then those are the matchups. But then after the players are all set, the match or the map order for each week is then released. So once ByuN and Solo were set as the first players, they then got told Glitter and Ashes is your first map. Of course, map 2 is a loser pick, so it is a nice little win for KAIZI to get Solar, Glitter and Ashes for the first game. Obviously, we'll see what comes of this, as we do see a proxied factory from ByuN, so he is going to have a little bit of trickery in play for himself. This is not just going to be vanilla build orders. Yeah, something a little wonky, and actually may just be quite hard to scout for Solar. If this Overlord just kind of sits at the front, the one thing he might see is no kind of Hellions. However, no Hellions is not a super weird thing for ByuN. He loves to play barracks-focused openers, 3 racks, 2-1-1s, and so on. So that's something which Solar sitting at the front with that initial Overlord might be like, oh, no Hellions, I feel like you're maybe doing something like this. But in reality, it's because the factory is off to the left-hand side of the map. So, yeah, it might not kind of get the alarm bells ringing for Solar as it may with some other players who aren't as fond of the non-Hellion openings. So, let's find out. Obviously, with the factory proxied, I should have said we're obviously expecting the starport to be proxy too. There's not really much you can do off only a proxy factory. So there goes the starport dropping down as well. And this looks to be an initial Hellion drop. Can maybe go for a mine drop after also and keep the pressure up. We'll see exactly what ByuN wants to do. So far, no vision down that left side. So ByuN is going to be able to, in theory, drop straight into the main, probably in a pocket of, space where there's actually no vision available. That is a big deal. If you can just drop, unload, and then all the Hellions just get to run straight through, that's a pretty huge deal, right? That's where you're going to deal mega damage, and that has absolutely got to be one of the main focuses here of ByuN in terms of what he would like to achieve with this attack. If he can get all these Hellions into that main base mineral line without having to unload on the fly, yeah, he's just going to have a real good time of it. And yeah, back at home, ByuN just building up those Marines. The Lings do stay at home from Solar, even though they've got Ling speed. They've not taken to the map. I believe they're starting to chase down the Reaper now, and that will be the end of the Reaper. That might be the time where the Lings decide to look across the map, but just one of them goes. So Solar is keeping the rest at home, and he did get an Overlord to that left side, so ByuN is going to be seen bringing these Hellions into the main base. So Solar will have a little bit of a more, quicker response. Now, these drones are still stacked up initially. We will have some one-shot potential. We didn't get the one-shots there. There's 6 kills, though. Pretty big pull on the workers as well for some lost mining time. And we move the medevac through the bottom side of the map and out to the right-hand side to continue onward then. So, nice start. 6 drones, and the Hellion's still alive, most notably. We are going into an armory. Oh, ho, ho. So, a Liberator for a bit of harassment. Going to scan down this Overlord. I mean, it's nice to get rid of the Overlord, don't get me wrong, but now you're losing that scan. That scan's obviously the economy, that is disappearing. And like I say, you're going into the armory behind this. It's kind of cool because to me, I would never really assume a reactor is going to build on a proxy and that you're then going to move into this sort of Hellbat attack. So it's definitely playing this whole idea of, a little bit of trickery and so on. And I love the Liberator because Solar's just not really ready to deal with this at all. Has to build the Spore Crawler on the fly. And we are going to see some Zerglings running for a counterattack, but there's a good amount of units here. I mean, we see more Hellions popping, and okay, I only saw them for a couple seconds before he actually got to use the Hellbat Soul. Got to see the Hellbat Wolf instance. Now Solar knows for sure what's up. See how much ByuN can do as he continues to rotate his Liberator around in the main base. Looking for more damage over there. Not really many units back at home. Needs to keep them depots repaired. The last thing you want to do is let those Zerglings in for free, because that, of course, would be asking for disaster. Oh, and now we didn't move the Liberator, so the Liberator is going to go down, and that's a bit of a shame, too. I feel like ByuN's just obviously being taxed a little bit, being asked to do too many things. He moves the Hellbats into Hellions, but then they kind of get caught by the Lings, and this is a disaster. Oh, my goodness. And the depot went down across the map. He stopped repairing. Whatever happened here for ByuN, it just feels like the last few moments, his multitasking just absolutely fell apart. One of those things where maybe you miss one thing and then it's that knock-on effect of you're just like a second late here, a second late there, and obviously this was a complete disaster. I mean, this is not meant to happen like this. If this engineering bay goes down, by the way, there is a very good chance that those Lings would have been in, on top of those Marines, and then obviously just winning the game, basically, because I just don't know what else you really do from there. Fortunately for ByuN, that engineering bay will at least hold. It will stand strong, and that means it gets to stay alive, and it gets to not let Solar win the game just yet, but obviously this is a very good start for Solar. 13 SCVs of ByuN went down. He barely even touched the drones after those initial 6 drone kills from the Hellions. So ByuN is in a fantastically disappointing spot. I mean, it had so much potential. You know, it had so much potential, so much cool prospects in this build. The chance to multitask all over, pull Solar Pod, and none of it really worked. None of it really worked at all. And I think, honestly, fantastically disappointed is how I feel, because I really was ready for this build to do, to work wonders, to be magical almost. And unfortunately, it just wasn't. So Solar is going to likely take this game 1 victory. So the good news is, even if you lose this first map, ByuN then gets map pick for map number 2. So you will, of course, be able to pick a Terran kind of map and maybe play a more standard game. Obviously, part of the reason he probably doesn't play a super standard game here is because the map is Glitter and Ashes. It's very large. It's very Zerg favored typically in this matchup. It's not a surprise to see somebody I mean, you can see him now on a 2-base all-in, essentially, right? He's pulling the SCVs in Medivacs. Okay, I've got no clue. But yeah, it's just not a map which you want to play like a long macro game on usually. So usually Terrans do something to try and get ahead early. And with that bit of a lead, they can sometimes leverage their position and keep it going. Yeah, apparently we're actually bringing the SCVs as drop. That's the drop. ByuN is basically hoping there's no Banelings already. The fact there's Banelings here, I'm pretty sure says goodbye and goodnight to this attack. As, like I say, look to game number 2, get into that more Terran-favored map, and just look to go from there. KAIZI Gaming looking good to get the first map win on the board today. The only thing I will say is that Solar, for me, is someone who can absolutely play the Terrans on the Terran maps as well. During the cast of Civil War, Solar was actually part of my team, same as ByuN. And we were frequently sending him out on Berlingrad, Curious Minds, to try and catch Terran players such as Kua. He took down time on Berlingrad, Kura on Curious Minds. Solar is good at playing those maps. So yeah, I'm actually kind of, I'm a little bit worried for ByuN, because I know Solar can be really good on those maps, but obviously it should look a lot more standard at least, and ByuN can get to play a bit of a better game, basically. Because, yeah, that game number 1 just wasn't really it at all. Just so weird to see someone pick Blackburn over Curious and Berlingrad, and maybe that's because ByuN does respect Solar a lot and knows, hey, this guy, he can play a good game on these, other Terran maps, whereas here, maybe I feel like I can split the map very easily, I can slow the game down a lot if I need to, all that kind of stuff. So I imagine that's maybe something that ByuN considers, but he's actually going to straight up proxy rack, so I mean, maybe that's a part of the plan. Maybe that's part of the reason he liked the map as the choice here. Options are really kind of quite broad at the moment, but this first Overlord is just heading straight towards the Proxy Scout. I mean, the fact that this is the first Overlord, if it sees it, and it does turn to not see it at the moment, but once it sees it, it's interesting. It's not super close, so the drones, if they pull to try and deny this, won't immediately be kind of... they're not going to arrive super quickly, and how is Solar missing this? He's going to turn, right? It makes no sense for this Overlord to continue upwards, surely. It makes no sense. Oh my god, no, he's going to pull it back. Oh my god, that proxy location turns out to be freaking disgusting. It was built on the side of that Overlord's vision, essentially. Yikes. That is... Yeah, that's so sad for Solar. Now he just can't really do anything about that. This Overlord, I don't think sees it either. He's going to see this as the Marines run forward, and they'll actually be able to attack that Overlord that's out the front. I'm not sure if it's going to get the high ground. I guess with just one Marine, it should be fine. If ByuN had waited for two, this obviously would have been much worse. But yeah, obviously ByuN doesn't want to wait around. He wants to go ASAP. He's going to start forcing a drone pull. Solar knows he needs to pull the drones here. He knows he needs these drones to stand up and to basically fight for themselves for a little while and try and deny these Marines from ever getting into the bunker. SCV on the bunker is being targeted down, so should die here as ByuN kites backward, and one Marine surrounded pretty quickly, but extra Marines showing up. I mean, obviously one of the downsides for ByuN is the Marines are building from quite far away, so the reinforcements arrive pretty slowly. This SCV cannot get up this ramp and onto that bunker. Kind of surprised that ByuN sent it forward so aggressively. Maybe just trying to play with it for high ground vision there. Once the bunker gets cancelled or so. Didn't feel like that SCV needed to run as far forward as he did. ByuN is building a factory, so that's coming up as well as the Queen and the Fuelings are looking to try and obviously zone out these Marines. ByuN readying up the next stage of this build. But obviously he is down a base, and he has not done a lot to Solar just yet. Like, he's not done terribly, but... he's far away from being, in the most successful positions so far, put it that way. So Overlord at least will go down, so Solar will catch the supply block. New Overlord about a pop, but he's actually still going to be more or less supply block coming out of that, so 35 over 36. That's actually starting to be kind of serious if he doesn't start another Overlord soon, but he doesn't have the cash just yet. There we go. Starts one now, but supply blocked for a while. Maybe not too bad because he's actually going to get the third hatchery now. So that's 300 minerals that don't require you to actually have, supply available. But that's, also two Overlords and Link. I guess I say Link Speed as well, but then he does start another Overlord. So he's definitely realizing a little bit of the issue he's in with that supply block. These Marines kite back away from those Lings, but they were doing pretty well, and one of the Queens is hurt. One of the last things Solar wants to do here is to end up taking the third hatchery in the forward position. That's a position that Terran can deny very easily. So you really want to get the third down on the left side of the map here. Just taking it on the other side, on the bottom, is, like I say, it just does not feel good at all. ByuN's going to pressure as best he can. He's trying to run around from this Queen to try and keep that extra Marine in the back healthy, but... yeah, he's probably going to lose that Marine in a second. He actually loses a different one first, but he does get a Queen out of this, making the absolute most out of his current situation. And that's the absolute way to play. Get anything you possibly can out of these units. Okay, you don't deny the third base. You delayed it maybe a little bit, but you don't deny it. It gets to stay up, but you killed a Queen, you killed the Lings, and that's actually really nice because getting rid of the Lings as Ling speed finishes, well, it just means that if Solar wants to actually be able to utilize Lings defensively against some Hellions now, or even just scouting on the map, he has to rebuild them. So that's now a cost Solar has to spend. That could have stopped, could have been 6 more drones or something. Instead, it's a whole bunch of extra Lings once more to make sure he has some amount of units on the map, make sure he has some amount of ability to set up and deny the Terran harassment, as a Viking is going to find an Overlord on the edge. I don't think that goes down. The Queens are going to be nearby. I guess the Queens don't have a transfuse, though, so the Viking should just be able to commit for the kill. Actually, yeah, it does get that kill, and that's another supply block from Solar. 3 more Overlords come through. Most notably, I think the Roach Roaring on the way down from Solar right now, so we are starting to see him change up a little bit of where this game is heading. Obviously, choosing to play Roaches is a stylistic choice, something which I don't think anyone's upset with to see kind of Solar do, and it's good on this map as well. We've seen Roaches be utilized on this map since, well, basically since the Rogue final against Maru and GSL. But Roaches were kind of one of the things you see on this map a lot, because you can open up the rocks and create kind of very good fights onto the third base on a fairly shorter map, and as long as you can do that, it's, like I say, it can be pretty beneficial for you. So Roaches are something we don't kind of, think is too crazy or anything just yet. As the Hellions move forward, and the Queens are there to push those Hellions back basically straight away. Banshee gets its way into the main. Now, this is actually kind of annoying because there's a Spore, but obviously it's set up to more deal with like a Liberator, so the Banshee getting in means that it can just deal some damage. 4 drones, probably can get 5 here, just sitting on the edge and catching this one in the gas. Yeah, it didn't actually go down. It got away. This Banshee's just going to sit here and deny the gas. Also, not really a bad idea. But look at what he could have done in the natural. All this time in the natural, there was no spore. And now the Hellions show up on the third base. Drones are going to be massacred. Solar, not even really responding. But then what was he meant to do? Like, run them away a little bit sooner, maybe? I'm not sure how much of a difference it makes. 24 drones die. And my only complaint for ByuN is that it maybe could have been even more if he'd just gone into the natural instead of hitting that extractor. I don't think he assumed there was just no... he obviously assumed there was just a spore crawler there when there wasn't. And unfortunately for ByuN, that's an assumption which just takes away some of the damage he could have done. But he did amazing damage anyway, and obviously it was just Solo distracted, dealing with those Banshees, allowing the Hellions to hit the third base, and that's where the real damage was done anyway. Now we drop into the main. Solo's playing from behind off of a weaker economy than he ever would have wanted to have played with here, so... yeah, this is horrendous. I mean, this Queen gets chased down. All these drones seem to be in trouble. The Roaches just can't get here soon enough to properly help. Queen's continue to drop. Oh, wait, I mean, are there even any Roaches to really help? Overseer goes down. GG says Solar, and ByuN will tie it for the Shopify Rebellion 1-1 in our first set of 2 games. Okay. Fun start. Actually, very fun start. And, I mean, quick, aggressive games, don't get me wrong. Maybe not quite the epics you want when you see TvZ, but... fun, and especially fun that it goes 1-1, like I say. I think that really sets us up for a very fun best of 7 overall here, as Reynor and Scarlett will take to the stage next, and we'll be hopping right on into that in just a second. The right time to make sure that we don't miss any of this ZVZ, because you all know how ZVZ can be, right? ZVZ can be this cheeky matchup where things can happen very early on. In the bottom right side from the Shopify Rebellion, it's Scarlett. She's rocking the blue outfit on the Zerg troops today. While in the top left, repping in red, it is Reynor from KAIZI Gaming. Map 3 of this overall best of 7. Scarlett and Reynor will play 2 maps against each other, the first being Curious Mind, the second being Loser's Pick. Let's see if Reynor can kind of carry through as the favorite here and put KAIZI Gaming potentially up towards match point. Of course, as I was saying kind of between the games, I do think Scarlett has a good shot of at least taking a map here, right? At least drawing this out a little bit. I think that's 100% a possibility. And yo, thank you so much, Iridian, for the 100 bits. Says thanks for the good games. Well, thank you so much for supporting. I appreciate every last bit you got. Thank you so much. Okay, so. And hey, yo, what's up, Middle? Coming in with the subscription on the Prime. Thank you so very much. Really, really appreciate the Prime sub. Oh my god, the Prime sellout's doing work today. My goodness. Squiskar, sorry, coming in with the Prime for the 2 months. Wardy ist ein Ehrenmann. A gentleman, maybe? Thank you so much for the Prime for the 2 months. Welcome back, and Swing SCT for the 4-month resub on the Prime. You guys have started a hype train. Wow, check you guys out. Twitch chat, you are wild today. Happy Sunday to you all. Let's hope for some good ZVZ here between Scarlett and Reynor. Obviously, startups are pretty similar across the board just now. Nothing to really go screeching about because it's pretty standard. Now, of course, it's a small map. Attacks on this map can hit very quickly if they aren't scouted, so you have very little time to react once units leave the base. That does encourage a lot of the aggressive roach openings. It will absolutely discourage any kind of Mutalisk play unless you manage to play like roaches into mutas much further down the line. So yeah, expect some kind of aggression and even maybe a bit of Ling Bane on this map, just because you kind of just need a couple defensive banelings already made to help you out in case there is just a flood of units that you don't see coming early. So yeah, third hatch going down. I would be kind of shocked to see players skipping the Baneling Nest here, but let's find out. There it is from Reynor. I guess if one player is going to skip the Baneling Nest, maybe it would be Scarlett, right? The player who's arguably the underdog going into this, trying to take some risks, trying to do a bit of crazy. But no, she drops the Baneling Nest as well, and so we are just going to see both of them heading towards Banes. Now, the new question becomes, when do we start to switch up from Ling Bane, and how much Ling Bane do we commit to? Is one player going to be the aggressor? Is one player going to make more Lings and really focus on fighting? Is the other going to perhaps just focus on drone? No, they're both going to just drone. There are a lot of possibilities here, actually. And you can see, actually, Reynor just started up a round of Lings, but Scarlett starts a round of Lings and a Roach Roaring. So, Okay, that's definitely a sign of aggression. It must be kind of hidden. Oh, it must be in the back of Scarlett's base, I believe. So it's very difficult for Reynor to scout. So she's going to just show some Ling Bane. But she's very quickly going to build roaches behind this and look for a roach attack. And again, just difficult to scout. Very little time to respond to something like this. The only downside for Scarlett is she has to make banelings right now to deal with this aggression of Reynor. And if she doesn't, she will lose the third hatchery. Saving the third hatchery is very important. She actually loses a lot more lings than I think she would have bargained for there. Just was in a rush to get rid of that Bane, as now we have 2 Banes up over here. They blow up on just a couple of drones. Nothing too crazy, but Reynor has circumvented the banelings. And this is going to be this hatchery going down. Reynor's going to be in a hugely advantageous position. He's going to run in here. He's very likely to start seeing the roaches. And that means he will just know to start prepping more and more units. Although having killed the hatchery already, I think he already knows that he basically just has to be defensive and build units, because anything else is just unnecessary. Build the units up, just get units going. You're already in a good lead. All you have to do is defend right now. And Reynor is looking very, very good in this game 1 against Scarlett. Did you see that link coming through, grabbing a Bane? Just going to be seeing the few roaches trying to fight you, but obviously these lings, when they're able to just surround the roaches like this, the roaches just do not trade well at all. And Scarlett just didn't get a defense on her third base, which, considering she was building units, a little surprising, but I just think she struggled with a couple Banes of Reynor. And then she really, I mean, she just started moving across the map, and Reynor doubled back around, got the third hatchery, just knocked this out of the kind of realm of expectations, and that's going to be GG's. Reynor is going to put KAIZI Gaming to a 2-1 lead. Quick game on Curious Minds. Just trying to theorize a little bit what exactly the situation is there as we get this going. Bottom left is Scarlett. Bottom right is Reynor. Scarlett again looking to tie the series 2-2 for the Shopify Rebellion. Can she do it on her map pick? Choosing Blackburn, what can we read from that? To me, it's almost a middle of the road map. You can be kind of aggressive, but there's not a lot of attack paths on this map, so not a lot of attack paths. There is a gold base, though, and I think that's a lot of what Scarlett wants to play around. And it is a bit of a coin flip early. Whether you take a gold, whether you try and play around that, or whether you don't. So the gold base is going to be what Scarlett expands to. Reynor will take the normal hatchery. So far, this is build order win for Scarlett. Not win, but build order advantage for Scarlett. A little bit of rock, paper, scissors that happens early game TvZ goes in Scarlett's favor, because off that hatchery first of Reynor, he's not going to be able to do anything immediately aggressive to deny the gold. So Scarlett should, for now, get away with having a gold base. And obviously gold minerals are better than blue minerals. That kind of goes without saying. That's the whole point of gold bases being a thing and being exposed and, you know, all that wonderful stuff, right? So yeah, gold base, good for Scarlett. And like I say, it was probably the expectation when she picked this map. She said, I'm going to take the gold. But Reynor can't just assume that blindly, right? Like, she can pick Blackburn, and then maybe what if she does something cheesy, expecting Reynor to take the gold, right? What if he takes that risk? And that's why it's a bit rock, paper, scissors. You know, it's difficult to tell exactly what your opponent will do and how they will do it. And like I say, so then you're just kind of making a blind choice early. So Reynor's going to play it standard. Scarlett's going to take the gold. Reynor knows about that by now. As that's another drone. Where's that going? Where the hell are you going? Huh. The only thing I'm thinking is that maybe she was trying to get an early check for Zerglings that might have snuck around the other side of the map. That's the only thing I'm really thinking there, but it looked more like the drone, that single drone just got misrallied for some reason, and then got fixed and put on the gold base in the end. But maybe he was looking for like early lings out the front or so. Reynor will drop a Baneling nest down. Reynor wants to be aggressive with Ling Bane because he wants to try and deny the gold base. And Ling Bane on this situation can be kind of annoying to deal with because Scarlett will be split on her reinforcements. You know, some will be coming from the top, from the gold, some will be coming from the main. So as Reynor, you can take advantage of that to some extent. And it's also possible that Scarlett powers up off a gold base as well and says, right, I've got gold base economy, let's try and overwhelm you if you just try and play macro. So I think in general, Reynor just has to build the Bane nest. It gives him some good aggressive potential. He obviously can defend with it as well. We'll see exactly what choice he makes. And he is going to move a couple banes across the map. I would imagine something maybe even middle of the road. We make a bunch of lings and banes, then we start droning, and we just kind of get an economy set up right. So you're kind of getting the best of both worlds. You're able to put on the pressure, but then you're just like, okay, now I'm just going to kind of keep on droning up. I'm not going to be too concerned. I'm also safe. If Scarlett wanted to be aggressive, she can't be aggressive because I'm being the aggressor, and I can get my economy up. And then when I realize she's trying to be aggressive, I have more time to respond because she has to deal with me, you know, my attack first, and then go from there. I'd imagine that's the somewhat kind of logic there. Scarlett tries to get the first Balin with the links around, but it was too far along, so that is going to be, unfortunately, a little bit of deadness. As that gold mineral line is going to be open for attack her. That's going to be kind of brutal. I mean, all of those drones getting hit. They don't die, but now they're one Balin hit away from dying. Oh, God. Okay, so far they're safe. But they're not just one Bane hit away from dying. A few lings in that mineral line will cause complete chaos. They can shred through those drones when they're low HP like that. And so that's obviously got to be a big reason of concern in this game for Scarlett right now, who has got Banes in her main base, but she just didn't realize she lost track of those lings. And now she's going to lose 10 drones. Yeah, she just lost track of these lings. She followed them into the base initially, but turned around to go and defend her own gold initially. And because of that, she lets those in, and they're going to connect big time. Scarlett is trying to dive around these Banelings, but she's just not really able to do well enough. And by the time she gets rid of the Banelings, new ones are almost ready, and she just doesn't have that many Zerglings remaining. Down 11 workers with the gold base behind her. She is starting to build a Roachron, and Roaches are coming out. The Roachron actually just finished from Reynor, so he can build Roaches too. So it's not like he's not going to have an answer here, though he is droning still. If he keeps droning, that could be disastrous, of course, although he has got that. I'd love to see this, yeah, this run by over here. Okay, he's going to see a Roach, so now he knows no more drones, build Roaches. He's very ahead on the worker count right now. He's absolutely, you know, compensated for the fact that Scarlett has a gold. With how many workers ahead he is as the Roaches show up from Scarlett. But what, we're going to sit on the low ground and fight a hatchery? Killing the third hatch doesn't bring Scarlett back into this because she's just so low on the drone count. She needs way more than a base kill. These few lings slip in, just again annoying another drone going down, drone pull. She will get rid of the third hatchery. And, okay, do not get me wrong, like, killing the third hatchery is nice. It's not like this is a complete waste. It's just, you need more than that. And we are going to go up this round. Scarlett does have a 20 army supply lead. Oh, what could be cool is she can actually fight out of range of the spine crawler. Just with it being, like, in the top right there. She can obviously just fight, like, bottom side and, you know, like I say, stay out of range of the spine. So Reynor doesn't get that defensive advantage that he was kind of playing around. Scarlett killing the Bane Nest actually might be kind of cute, but even better, just kill the Roachron. It's right at the front. You can stop Roach production already. Oh, she has a little bit of a surround with some Zerglings here. Corrosive Files force a lot of Roaches to split back. Reynor losing a lot of attack time during this because these Corrosive Files are forced him to keep moving and splitting away from his opponent. But now starting to Corrosive File down the spine, which actually tries to move, but the Lings gets around on it, so it can't burrow. However, the Roaches from Scarlett, are they running out of steam? The army supply is still double. The spine not burrowing as the Lings get rid of the Roachron. The spine crawler trying to burrow again. Now, this time it doesn't dodge in time, so it does take a hit. Ravage is still in the natural. Scarlett trying to tie it up for the Shopify Rebellion, trying to take this to 2-2. Mobiles coming down, drones getting hit. Ling's still in the mineral line. This spine crawler will dodge once again. It will not get a chance to burrow because of repeated biles. It is finally gone. Reynor types GG, and Scarlett gets it done with the Roach all in, and she ties up the series. It came down to the wire in this game. And it felt as though, honestly, I thought Scarlett was in a lot of trouble. I thought she did not have much of a chance here, but she made it work. She got it done when she needed it. And that's going to be the W necessarily to, like I say, once again, tie this series up 2-2 with Lambo versus Time on the horizon. That this might be a replay because they just jumped into this instantly, which seems like they just hosted the replay and just went for it. Again, they did not give us a lot of time to chill here in the World Team League. So, with that said, let's dive into Lambo time. Now, map 1 is on Berlingrad, and again, the first map is just predetermined here. You don't know what that is when you send out the player in this slot, so, you know, they couldn't have avoided Lambo coming out here. They couldn't have predicted Time was going to have the first map advantage. But that's just kind of part of how the system goes. Again, if this goes 1-1, we will have our very first ace match of this year's World Team League. If this goes 2-0 for either player, obviously they win the series, and this does not go to an ace match, their team is just the champs of this match, and we move on to match number 2, best of 7, number 2 of the day. It's a pull first from Lambo. I wonder if he's going to plan something aggressive like a roach attack. Just says, hey, look, it's a town kind of map. If I just plan to be aggressive from the start, try and get going, you know, deal some damage, just kind of play from there. I can be pretty happy with my setup, and like I said, just sort of see how it goes. I was quickly trying to figure out what the ace match is. 2,000 atmospheres if we actually go to Game 7, by the way. That's actually a pretty middle-of-the-road map, so I only suggest that because it's, you know, a question of who do you send out in that ace? Do you send out ByuN? Do you send out Scarlett to play a bit of ZVZ? Obviously, the map could maybe determine who you send out and, you know, what matchup you're looking for. It's interesting because obviously, like, you know, from KAIZI, you're probably expecting Solar or Reynor to be the ace player. So it's a Zerg. So your choice is, do you play TvZ or ZVZ? It's like, well, actually, if you play on 2K, it can be either. If it was like Glittering or Pride, then you're like, oh, well, we probably got to play the ZVZ and send out Scarlett or so, or Lambo. But, yeah, if it gets that ace match, all options should be open for, I mean, either team. If you want to kind of pull a fast one as KAIZI and send out Time as an ace player, that's not impossible. Like, that is a choice that you have. So, yeah, definitely an interesting one to have in our discussions here. That's just going to be getting going. Roadshore does start from Lambo's talked about that initial aggressive intention. It's exactly what we're going to be seeing at first. Just saying, hey, look, it's a Terran map. Why not just put myself into an aggressive start here? And hey, if I lose, I can play a macro game on Pride or Glittering or Hardwire. You know, I get my pick of map for map number 2. So why not just throw something aggressive out? I feel like this is my best chance to win anyways. And I've got that backup plan to win game 2 to force us into an ace match. Of course, worth mentioning as well that if you go to an ace match, the points that you earn from winning the series do change. So, for winning without an ace match, teams earn 3 points in the standings. For winning in an ace match, you only get 2 points because your 3rd point goes to the team who lose in the ace match. So even just forcing an ace match and losing there is very good because a point is a point, and points are the most important thing when it comes to advancing in this league to playoffs and just in your standings, etc. A couple queens come down there and they will just push the Reaper away. The roaches are going to pop out and they are going to be seen now by the Reaper. So preparation time on time side of the map. He will be able to start a Banshee. Not going 3cc is very good for him. He's not putting himself at essentially a build or a loss in the first few moments. So already playing from a good position considering his opening. And Lambo obviously will not be happy with that. Those SCVs pulled from the natural very early. I feel like they could have even stayed there for a little while. And only say that because obviously now they're up in the main, they will be oversaturated. So they could have maybe got a little bit more proper mining out before then they pulled away, you know, a bit further down the line or so. I appreciate the safety of kind of getting them out of the way already, but I feel like you saw the roaches, you saw the timing of this. I mean, games like this sometimes can be all about just eking out every little possible advantage, right? Oh wow, the Widow Mines get away. It's actually a pretty big deal because those are units which probably should die in this as this is not working at all for Lambo. He is not going to deal the damage he wants to here. He will get a few SCVs, sure, but obviously it's a big commitment to build this amount of roaches, a Ravager, send them across the map. He is ahead by 10 workers, but it's just a lot of gas investment and a lot of tech that he's going to now be behind on, but he obviously would have much preferred to not be behind on. Widowmine gets a shot off, and we will have that one Marine looking to try and finish off the Overlord kill. We'll just send his units around here, Time is. Yeah, once Cloak finishes, it's just going to be damage central as well from Time. And this is where Time gets to catch up on workers, because Lambo has to build spores, you know, prep for this defense. And all of these things basically slow you down again now as Lambo and allow Time to play catch-up off the back of this attack. Honestly, I won't lie. I actually feel like Lambo's in a better position than I thought he would be coming out of this. And I think a lot of that is that Time did pull those SCVs from the natural really early. Lambo obviously built like a decent amount of roaches, but once he built those first 5, he droned straight from there afterward. Couple Banshees are just coming around, and the Queens are here. We're just gonna get one drone kill already. Nice to pick off a cheeky drone, of course. Any drones you can find between bases are nice as Lambo just drones 14 more workers popping out. I mean, that's obviously great damage as the Queen wants to be careful of the Banshees. Last thing you want is to be losing a Queen unnecessarily. That Banshee just gets to stay alive. Good save from Time, moving away at just the right moment to make sure he is going to be able to stay alive there, maintain his position in this. Those 3 drones going down. Just going to be seeing the orbital command at the front coming online. A couple more barracks coming through as well. Get rid of a creep tumor in the front, and the roach is just going to get bopped backward. Lane's going to reap out to the left. Just going to fire up a storm. Hatchery takes a little tiny bit of damage. And the game turns into a pretty passive affair now. I mean, Lambo's going to continue to play a roach style, so 1-1 roaches. Now, he's already passed 66 drones. This isn't like a 1-1 roach timing or anything like we see a lot of the time. This is more macro focused, so he's going to play pretty roach heavy. And I was going to say perhaps into like Banes and so, but he actually drops the Hydra Den, so he's going to play Roach Hydra. That typically leads into Lurkers, obviously fairly early on. The reason I don't like Roach Hydra into Lurker is because it feels like you're already going to have a lot of tanks up to deal with the initial Roaches, then you can deal with the Hydras, then you can deal with the Lurkers. And because the tank count's just so high, you just have that ability to kind of just keep the Lurkers from ever being able to run into you. And then on top of that, it's this kind of interesting thing of, you also just don't have the proper buffer for the Lurkers. Like, usually the Lurkers are good because when they go running and charging into battle, they have a freaking, set of Zerglings that tank for them. And, they soak up a lot of damage and they give the Lurkers the chance to take position. There's nothing really akin to that in this, Roach kind of style that backs up, when they back up the Lurkers. So, definitely makes it a little bit different as we do just have units in the center. Marines coming through and picking away at some of this creep spread. Time just playing it pretty slow and steady. Happy to work his way through some creep, open up the map a little bit, and just being able to play more or less from there. Yeah, I mean, Lambo, as he hits the hive, I wonder if he will just, Lurker Den's on the way through, so it looks like he is just rushing Lurkers off this. Which, like I say, is maybe not the most common way of approaching it. I usually feel like you get a bit more aggressive off Roaches and Hydras initially, then you get the Lurkers coming up. But yeah, he wants to go straight to those Lurkers, absolutely no in between. So there's just going to be no stopping him getting there. If you want to get there, you're going to get there. These two Banshees just being annoying, looking for an extractor kill. There's another few units dropping around, but Lambo gets a few pickoffs on those. Means it's going to get rid of an extractor, the few roaches still there, and it's still nice harassment from Time, but it's nothing that's getting out of control. It feels very manageable for the most part here. I was just going to be seeing this Banshee moving back forward once again. Marines, tanks, Hellions, medevacs all moving around to the left-hand side. I'm going to go and push our way straight over there, siege up a whole bunch of tanks. And obviously this is one of the powers of Berlingrad. The positions you can take on this map are sometimes a little bit disgusting when it comes to those tank positions, etc. So that is a little bit of what we're seeing there. Love this Roach counter-attack, my goodness. It's going to pull a lot of units back from Time. Now Lambo's just going to decide to sit in the back of the natural and trade with SCVs, and obviously this means these Roaches will go down, but I mean, he pulls Time's entire army from the middle of the map, so he moves everything over here, and that is massive because it gives Lambo freedom on the map again. He actually ends up killing 12 SCVs, which is obviously very notable as well. So 12 SCVs go down. The Roaches do a great job in the back. Yeah, beautiful play out of, really beautiful play out of Lambo. Love that. It was just a great time. And he actually replaced a lot of the supply with Vipers, Lurkers, and stuff. So he basically trades out Roach supply. And yeah, he'll end up building more Roaches here too, I'm sure. But he improves his army with this as well, basically, you know? I think that's very important to note. As you see these Marines, Hellbats, making their way forward. They are also trying to get out on the map and see what can be done. Roaches and lurkers lurking around the center. Well, we're about to have adaptive talents. Once that is finished, that is all of the lurker upgrades in the game. So with the lurker upgrades fully in the game, then we should be full steam ahead, taking some of these fights. And this is the left side, we do get rid of an Overlord, and now we're going to go pick away at a couple of Ravagers. That's actually a really good start here to this fight from time. It's a small fight as well, and he's actually going to trade okay against those Roaches too. C2 upgrades on the Terran units, helping a lot against just 1-1 Roaches. Again, Lambo put a lot of pressure and, well, just kind of a lot of focus onto the Lurkers, which are apparently going to go and attack. Viper's going to abduct a tank, but the turret positioning is very good to help deny that as well. I gotta say, I'm just a little bit surprised. I mean, this fight on the left side was horrible for Lambo. He lost so many Roaches just to basic Marines. Yeah, and like I say, like, it's not like you can do much over here thanks to the turrets zoning out the Vipers. It's making it kind of tough. Yeah, there's medevacs get back home as well. There's not really anything you can do to further improve the interception on those. Lurkers will sit here picking their way through the rocks and opening up the map a little bit. Until you have this medevac moving through the south side. Obviously, love the drop play at this stage because Lambo wants to try and be very controlling, and very focused with his lurkers in the center of the map and getting those abducts off and taking advantage of all of that. So by sending, a medevac down here or a medevac over there, it really does just make your life a little bit. It does just make your life a little bit tougher as Lambo, because then you do have to focus on those different positions that you maybe weren't focusing on initially. So yeah, it definitely has something of an impact as we have the Marines loading back into the medevac there and moving around the left-hand side. Lambo just continue to take base after base, and I have to say, guys, we're actually in a pretty long game for once in this series. I know this best of 7's been fun, but it's been aggressive and it's been quick up until now. Now we actually are in a pretty fun, a little bit of a longer game. Both players are going to be maxed out. I don't think we've had a game today where both players have been maxed out. I'm trying to think, maybe ByuN solo 4-4? I don't think so. I think both those games ended too soon. Yeah, I don't think anyone's been maxed out today even, so yeah, looking pretty freaking good for just entertainment purposes here in map number 5, of course. Big match. These are two teams that fight for, I would say, similar playoff positions. KAIZI absolutely leveling up this year by picking up Reynor into their roster. So, yeah, oh god, these lurkers are doing pretty well clearing up. And the Marines did good as well. The drop did cancel bases, so, trade for a trade. But, yes, very much so a team, KAIZI, that have stepped up thanks to the addition of Reynor. And, Shopify have been a very strong team last season as well. I expect that to continue. So it does mean that this match becomes, like I say, pretty important down the line in terms of, these could be two teams that end up in very similar places in the playoff bracket. And obviously just starting one round ahead in the playoff bracket just maybe means one less match you have to play. And that's always brilliant in terms of increasing your chances of making a championship run. Gonna knock down the rocks on the left as well. Obviously transitioning through into more of these lings and so on, so we are actually getting up into that transition period for Lambo where he's moved on from the Roaches a lot, so it's more about the ling support that I was initially talking about, being missing from this kind of Roach Hydra style. So you're gonna have that initiation helping the lings will tank as the lurkers run into position. And we are gonna keep on dropping from time, just a few units here and a few units there. I like this a lot. It makes a lot of sense. Keeps Lambo busy when Lambo wants to be focused on maybe making use of his spellcasters and positions elsewhere on the map as time is making his way down to a 5th base. That's something that Lambo would have loved to stop getting online. Obviously, keep the economy of time constricted to 4 bases makes this game a lot simpler for Lambo, but the way time is playing, which is very slowly, makes it difficult to deny that 5th base. Because he is just so well set up here. I do not think I like this attack at all. it was kind of out of sync. The units on the top side just melted. The Ghosts just got to EMP whatever they wanted, and the only good thing I thought about that attack was that actually this bottom left side was maybe a little bit weaker. But because the units from the top side hit so soon and the units on the bottom left got there late, I feel like Lambo sieged up the lurkers a bit further away than he could have done. If he sieged them up a bit closer, that maybe would have been a whole bunch better. That maybe would have been more annoying. Yeah, with this amount of ghosts out, Lambo's got to start playing a bit of a different game, and that's why the infestors start to make their way to the map. The spellcasters coming through to really pique our interests in how this turns out in the end, I suppose, because, yeah, with these spellcasters coming through, fungal growth's obviously going to be very important on the ghost. That can go a long way. A lot of stuff to be watching out for here as we do just have a few Vikings medevacs heading down the bottom left. The Marines over there and Marauded just want to deny this base. Eventually, this is a base that Time wants to take for himself. He absolutely does not want to let Lambo mine both corners of the map, because that's efficiency that's very difficult to find as the Terran player. You know, you can trade very efficiently with this army, but trading when Lambo gets both corners of the map over you, it's... yeah, that's going to become brutal very quickly. So important for Time to just stop that from happening early. The sooner you stop it happening, the less kind of setup Lambo gets there. The easier it is to kind of stop, as infestors don't find much. Lurkers will start a burrow, and of course Lambo's kind of playing with a border he can't cross here, because the moment he goes past a certain point on this kind of creep spread, he's in tank range, he's going to get sniped a whole bunch, he's just not going to have a good time. So got to be very careful around that as we continue to invest into the later game. Greater Spire, second Spire, so that's allowing him for obviously Broodlords and further upgrades in the skies. Getting Neural Parasite is very important, because it means you can use those infestors to sneak around, maybe grab a Neural on a ghost and EMP the ghosts. I just don't like these trades right now for Lambo. He's trying to be threatening, but in trying to be threatening, he is losing a lot of units. And again, that efficiency is just going to be climbing up from Time right now. It's starting to get a little bit redonkulous how efficient Time has been. I'd love to see the resources lost, because I feel like the last few fights have been so good for Time. I'll see if we get a peek at resources lost at some point here, because, yeah, it definitely feels... it's been pretty nasty. These Widow Mines are a response to the first Nidus low ground, but there's a Nidus high ground as well. Obviously, the mines don't necessarily shut this down either. They just hurt the first few units, then end up coming out of this, which are going to be some lurkers. They go up. Yeah, it's not going to be too crazy. Like I said, the Nidus actually going to pop in the main as well. Not dealing with the Nidus networks could be Time's downfall here. His production is going to be sieged. And that's a pretty big issue if you're going to have your production kind of in trouble here. Now, we are going to get rid of these lurkers pretty quickly. I love those few SCVs we just saw mining in the bottom left corner as well. Just living their best life, getting involved with the Terran base. Oh my god, we do kill this orbital, so that's actually pretty nice too, of course. Pulling an orbital off is always going to be beneficial. Nidus in the main. Again, if you can just get these Niduses up and get on top of the production, that's something you're just going to keep going for here. There is absolutely no reason not to. If your opponent's going to give you the chance to do that, you just take it with open arms. And so far, we are being given that chance. Well, bottom left base at least does get denied. Probably one of the more important bases to keep on denying, and we might even see Time trying to reach out and take that base for himself here soon. We're kind of getting to that stage where that's a realistic possibility. Yeah, and he's playing pretty slow. He doesn't want to go too quickly. He doesn't want to leave any base unprotected. But you do want to have some bases coming up as well, and even if you just land a base there and mule it for a little while, that could just be like a nice little boost to your income that just helps you along for a bit as well. So, a few ways to approach this. The Broodlords now being out. Well, means that Lambo's ready for this kind of late game fight. If you can hit the fungals and get the broods involved, you can have a very good time. The only problem with that is that it's obviously very reliant on you having a good fight. These broods, if they get taken down, can absolutely melt. No Thors in the army, which I do think Lambo will be very happy about, because Thors are an absolute pain to deal with when you're dealing with these playing with these Broodlords. So I don't think there's actually... It's very difficult, I think, here for Lambo to take a fight which is super, like, horrendous, like, extremely one-sided when the Thors aren't involved, but it's not impossible because of the ghosts. Oh, that's a hell of a fungal growth, but there's no follow-up. Okay, oh, we do get one more fungal off, that's big. Oh, yes, a couple more broodlings drop as well, and we just managed to kill off a couple of those ghosts. Wow, that's huge. I was just saying, like, time has been pretty adventurous with the ghost. I was like, well, he knows what he's doing, right? But yeah, that kind of was a bit of a stretch, and that was moving too far forward, and that does end up costing him. It's actually nice. These ghosts are going to get a few snipes off from the angle. We are going to be seeing a little abduct forward on some of these libs. The broodlords do not have the detection, I don't believe, to stop those ghosts firing the snipes. The infestor came forward for the fungal. Didn't quite manage to land there. Most importantly, this bottom left base is likely to go down, as Lambo does also have the counter-attack set up on the right side. Time has a ton of money banked. 7.5k, 4k. The only issue I have is if he takes a bad fight here, the rebuild takes a while for Time, and Lambo could get a lot done in the meanwhile if he wins the fight. So obviously Lambo has a rebuildable bank as well. Got a lot of money involved in his coffers at the moment. And what's notable is Lambo's starting to take the top right base as well. It's another base which, if you take, is, you kind of then have two of them on the map while your opponent has none of them, so it's a big swing in kind of base count favoring Lambo. Broodlings going after an initial Marauders. We just snipe Overseers. Overseers are expensive to replace, so actually sniping those is not a bad call. If you basically take anything you get, but Overseers do specifically cost like a little bit more gas than most other things that are just easy pickings. We're just kind of tank or two. They don't want to go too far forward. They're A, afraid of the snipes, and they're B, afraid of those Thors now. A couple of them coming out. Talked about it once already, just what these Thors can do. They can work wonders against Broodlords, so you gotta be just a little careful over here for the moment. Scan after scan, Time making sure he's not walking into a fight that he doesn't want to be taking. He knows that, this fight's gonna really come down to him getting, a few snipes off, picking away with a lot of stuff early. That's an expensive cloak. It does cost Ghost a little bit of initial energy to cloak up that first time around, so kind of a little bit of a shame just to cloak everything and instantly uncloak it. So it's a little annoying, as we do see more of these SCVs going down as well. At this stage, obviously, we're just still looking around, and both sides are still looking for the proper fight here, the fight that they believe can win them this game. They both have huge banks, so again, it's not like, the fight should necessarily be the last army either of these two have. It's just very possible that the fight goes one side to a way that then one player doesn't have a bank remaining at all, or one side in a way that the other guy never gets a chance to rebuild properly because they're always under attack from then on out. So yeah, huge banks in play, but you need an engagement which basically allows you to utilize your bank. But of course, most would rather just prefer to try and get the engagement which stops their opponent using their bank. Fungal growth would be amazing right now. Infesta, I think, was in range much sooner. Just took its sweet time about turning around and doing something about those ghosts. Unfortunately, that costs you the chance for a larger fungal. The Liberator just around the right side, gonna get rid of a few of these drones initially, so taking away at a few of those. And we do have the Thor taking away at some units in the bottom left hand corner as well. Oh, that Thor gets picked off. Nice play with the Broodlords. Gonna be able to get rid of the Thor there. That's very nicely done. Tanks continue to siege on up. We are going to take down a position over there. Just trying to stop that base from mining. Again, if you can slow down further income of Lambo, then brilliant. Absolutely take that opportunity. Brutes moving forward. Again, you got to be careful in these fights because if the Thors get in range, Thors are really good at making Brood Lords disappear. It's like now you see them, now you don't. And yeah, those Thors start to take steps forward. The Brutes are absolutely right to begin moving back. I like the Fungals trying to slow this down. It's very difficult because it makes you wonder what the heck Lambo's meant to do when it comes to taking kind of a straight up fight here. He does manage to land a Neural Parasite, and we've already talked a bit about the power of those. Because of the way the map's set up, there's not a lot of chance to sneak around with Infestors. Something that you see players like Serral, for example, do a lot in Dark. Because you've always got like a couple burrowed Infestors lurking around, looking for like a big Neural and so on. It's not really possible because the position that Time is playing is so defensive focused that he's just never really, there's never really anywhere you can go because there's just turrets everywhere. Which is why sometimes it's nice to have played through the Ultras. Obviously we never really would have gone Ultras with the style that Lambo played in this game. But that's kind of a downside because if you play Ultras you can bust through a position or two, take down some detection, and maybe that opens the pathway for those Infestors to begin burrowing around. Right now, Lambo's had none of that, so there really are just turrets anywhere and everywhere. Getting that kind of surprising neural is nigh on impossible. And obviously, you know, a lot of why Time plays like this is truly to, you know, deny stuff like that from being able to happen as well, of course. So that is obviously credit to Time, playing it correctly, positioning his units, his army, and so on in the right sort of way. Gonna drop a Fungal on Liberators there, but that won't really result in much. Lambo, again, struggling to find an engagement into this army, which shouldn't be too surprising. You look at what Time has, it is terrifying. But if you struggle to find that engagement in, you're going to really struggle to eventually close this out. Because then your entire bank gets reset multiple times. Lambo is going to drop an Ultra Cabinet, in fact. It's probably like one of the only techs he didn't have until now, so we'll get the Ultra Cavern underway. 13 more drones go down, but of course, at this point, losing drones just gives you... Oh, nice Fungal. Losing drones obviously gives you the chance to rebuild more army units. Has a really good Fungal, got a few ghosts out of it, so a bit more value of Lambo this time around. And the Rude's actually finding the chance to move down the left side, but obviously this is off creep, so the supporting Infestors will be not having that creep to help them out. It's a lot of Liberators to work through, obviously that looks unrealistic. Lambo puts himself kind of towards this high ground, but is he in danger of getting cut off from the rest of his army and from being able to just escape away here? Very possibly is. If Duck the Liberator forward, Sport Crawls will do their work. A couple Corruptors as well will join in the fun. Is Lambo stuck? Time kind of has a surround on this high ground position. What Lambo could do is, my best guess again out here would be to run the Broods up the left side. Just counterattack Filling Vein. That does abandon the Infestors though, which is obviously less than ideal. You know, no one wants to be leaving their Infestors abandoned on the map and giving them no home to go to. Yes, this actually starts to become just a straight up fight that Lambo just has to take, which is again frustrating because you don't want to take fights like this. You want to pick and choose your battles. Well, we're going to start moving forward. The Corruptors going in after the Liberators. The Infestors looking for the Fungals that can land on those Ghosts as the snipes come through. Both players are losing a lot of supply. I feel like these Broods are about to start melting though. Although the Broodlings are actually cancelling a lot of the Ghost snipes because the tank-friendly fire is stopping them from sniping. Oh, these few Broodlords on the side are not going to be enough either. Finally, these Ghosts cloak up and they will get forward for the snipes. I can't believe the snipes didn't go off for such a long time there. As these last few Broodlords are going to do what they can, they shouldn't be able to do much else. I actually think the tank there was the biggest downfall of Time. I think the tank actually had so much friendly fire that it blocked the snipes from going off. Obviously, there were Broodlings in there. They were cancelling friendly fire too, but I'm pretty sure Tank Splash stopped some of it as well. Lambo starts to rebuild. A lot of Hydras starting to go back to Lurkers even. Ultra Cavern has the Chitinous playing, not far from finishing too, so that's a possibility of something else that can potentially come out of all of this. to land this top right base. Of course, what Lambo has done here as well, he's still stopping this bottom left base from coming online. That's also very important because that base is one you just do not want the Terran to get, because it makes the overall efficiency battle in this game a lot closer and a lot more favorable for the Terran if they can get that base rather than you mining that base over them. Now, it's not full base. Lambo mined from it for a while, so he has taken a lot of the resources off of it. But at this stage, resource income is becoming a scarcity, so being able to just keep your opponent from grabbing one of those is also very important. We're going to start moving up this ramp. Couple Widow Mines. Oh, they do not get big shots at all. It's a lot of Lings for this stage of the game, it feels like, right? But it's kind of the idea of just swarming with Lings and following up with the Lurkers. 20 Lurkers currently on the map. We do go up to 10 Ghosts, so it's a lot of times rebuild kind of efforts going into those Ghosts and making sure he has a good amount of them to help him aid, help aid him in this sort of situation. There is a Thor or two just killing off all of these Overseers that were left behind, so that's a little unfortunate. Just money you have to re-spend here as Lambo. 17 workers left in the game from time, by the way. 31 from Lambo. It just means that the army supplies are going to be massive, and I feel like Lambo is still struggling to get enough units out on the map. He's got so much money in the bank as he takes this fight. Like, he's so desperate to not let this base ever get online. But again, he's just taking fights with so much in the bank, and if he'd spent everything, then I mean, obviously it's just much more competitive. Right now, you're not spending enough of it, and so you just got so much that could have been. Obviously, he gets to rebuild a bit more off the back of this, but it looks like Time is going to have the better setup. He actually tried. Finally, you get to see resources lost. It might have shown up before now, but it's a 27,000 difference in resources lost. We're going to rebuild Broodlords now. Time is building some Hellions. I guess he's assuming he's going to become mineral heavy, and yeah, I don't really, maybe just run around the map with some Hellions, maybe harass a little bit. Now we're going back. I think we go back into Broodlords now because initially he didn't want to because of the Thors, and then he said, right, well, maybe I got rid of enough of them to actually make Broodlords again. It's going to shred the entire bank of Lambo. His bank is gone. And he's obviously very close to mine now, so he's finally spent that money, but again, can you imagine he spent that money before he took some of the previous fights, instead of sitting on so much? I appreciate that he may not have been able to spend it all right away, and that's kind of part of the problem, but that's just feels like something you kind of got to get over, and something you just kind of have to deal with, no? Let's keep pressing forward. Obviously, something that Lambo doesn't have a great answer to, as he's down 50 army supply here. I mean, at this point, what are we even expecting or asking for? Something pretty crazy, I think. I mean, gonna get a snipe down on that Broodlord, so that will fall. I mean, this fight just has to be ridiculous, because again, it's 170 army supply of time. He just has so many units at this stage. Figure up, bungle down, Liberator going to get caught in that, and do start to make a push forward. This seems to be it from Lambo. The Liberators are just going to get so much done. The Queens, Infestors. I don't even know how many Infestors are on the ground. The Libs actually do unsiege and back it up a little bit, but I just do not see this ever being enough. These Broodlords are going to get chased. They're going to get sniped. Big fungal growth does land. There's a drop of Blinding Cloud as well to keep the units in the back. It will not be enough, though. Time will win it out, and he will take this game for KAIZI Gaming. And KAIZI Gaming is going to be the one to take the match point advantage here. 3-2 lead. Lambo's map pick, though, for map number 6, could potentially force this ace match. It is Lambo in the bottom right-hand side. Time in the upper left. Pride of Altaris, the worst map in the map pool for Terran, by a long shot. Absolutely no doubt about it. Nobody would say otherwise. So let's see what Time can come up with to try and pick up a W here. Not impossible to win on, of course. Just like I say, a lot of the layouts and everything kind of favor the Terran player here. So Sorry, favor the Zerg play here. So it is tough if you go to a later game. There's a lot of Zerg bases. There's a lot of open space for big surrounds for the Zerg to take fights in. One of the things you can't do as easily on this map is take some of the engagements which are into like a very defensive terrain. But because there's so many bases on the map, you don't need to take those engagements and deny the bases because you just out-expand massively. And so the onus is kind of on the Terran player to bring the fight to use the Zerg. And so, yeah, if they do just want to sit back, yeah, maybe you can't fight into them, but just let them, because they can only sit back on 4 or 5 bases, maybe 6. But if they take 6 bases, you can actually have 8, 9, 10 bases, you know? Like, you have the, you know, the world, basically, at that stage. So you can't just sit back, play heavy defense, kind of like what we saw in Berlingrad, drawing the map out and playing for the essential mine out of the game, where you believe you can trade well enough and your opponent won't have enough resources on the map to overrun you. Because if you repeat that last game on Pride, Lambo doesn't have to take those crazy fights toward the end. He still has an income. He can just throw units at time a little bit more easily or a bit more slowly, keep to 9 bases, and yeah, then the game is his. If he just has extra economy, more money to work from, while keeping time on the lower base count, yeah, it plays obviously very differently. And that's exactly what you would expect to see here. Like a little shout out to you guys. We just got some subs to catch up on, basically. So thank you very much to the following: Slow Joe 2001 for the 6-month resub, Rero 75 dropping the Prime for the 23 months, almost 2 years. Fluffy Ops also dropped the 8-month resub as well, saying let's go. Thank you everybody for the resubs and the love today here in the World Team League broadcast. Hope you're having a fantastic time. Thanks so much for supporting the stream, and let's keep pushing to that 1,000 sub marker. Thank you so much. Reaper is going to fight the Lings a little bit. To see Reynor on chat lose his pick is kind of OP. Yeah, it's pretty good for Zerg, mate. Yeah, if you get 2-0 this season, you should probably retire, right? You get to pick Pride, second map every time, or... You know, it's kind of sick, yeah. Obviously, it's kind of designed so there's that underdog potential, and obviously the league is kind of designed so there's the potential to go like 1-1, you know, the maps to kind of go like either way instead of just like a 2-0. But it's kind of interesting. I actually think it does a very good job in that regard, but then when you have like 2 players who are very like, you know, very, very strong against each other, the map does just have that much of an impact as well, where it can be, yeah, like it almost does guarantee the 1-1, and it's like, oh well, but that if that was just the expectation, and then I guess you have the cool games where, you know, again a 2-0 is then that much more meaningful because you won on your opponent's map pick as well, right? Yo, thank you, M. Canning, for the raid. What's up? Welcome everybody. Oops, sorry, I was opening my dashboard. Sorry for the screen blinking for a second. And thank you so much, Judgment of Kira, for the 32-month resub. Welcome back, guys. Appreciate it. Thank you so very much. As we just have Reaper and a couple of Hellions poking around, going straight to stim this game. Obviously, just building straight to that bio army. And looking to maybe just get aggressive on the map, try and take some control early. The earlier you can take that control, perhaps the earlier you can make stuff happen on what is this large map with a lot going on it. The Bread are currently chasing the Overlord out to the top corner. Overlord, which has Overlord speed as well, so Lambo really just taking all precautions. With Overlord speed, you're pretty much guaranteed to know that you are, you know, you're pretty much guaranteed to know what your opponent's doing. You don't get caught off guard by anything. You don't, you know, you see if it's mech or bio. Sometimes you do see mech on this map, right? So the Overlord speed is very useful in that regard, and it can still give you some aggressive options too. It can maybe allow you to do like a sneaky little Baneling drop at some stage or something. So I like it on a map like this where you're kind of comfortable in the game in general, and typically the Terran's going to try and play a little bit aggressively or a little bit weird to try and, you know, take some advantage back in their favor. So just figure out what the hell that's going to be, because again, with Overlord speed, it's extremely difficult for anything to then, you know, arrive as a surprise. It's your engineering base building from time. Back at home, so he's going to go for his 1-1. Lambo just prioritizing that lair initially. And obviously Baneling Nest comes in so you can get toward Baneling speed. We'll see what he wants to do with the lair as well. There is a possibility of playing mutas. It's a large map, right? You know, it's very good for mutas because you have a lot of time to deal damage, then get back home, and you know, before the Terran gets across. So you can use the mutas offensively and then bring them back defensively. There's a lot of good, you know, positions to move in with the mutalists as well. So you've got a few different options there. Hellions going back to the middle as the orbital command is going to lift off, float over to the third base location, and all of that just behind a little bit of Hellion pressure that I believe did cancel one base down on the bottom side, right? Unless I missaw that. There's the Evo Chambers from Lambo, so absolutely playing again that kind of more, again, like tech-focused style. You're going to get the lair up first, then the Evo Chamber second. Things looking for us around here on Hellions. We'll find only the one. He actually morphed in a lot of Banelings recently and is still making a lot of Lings. Lambo reluctant to just drone heavily towards like 70 or 75 workers. Kind of surprising because, again, he's had good information this game. So, to me, making so many units, I'm intrigued. Obviously, if Time walked across the map and tried to attack into him right now, then that's brilliant for Lambo. But yeah, a lot of these units just won't actually be needed as it's only a double drop coming across the map. And obviously, you can deal with that without the whole kind of mass Ling Bane that just got built up. You can see the fact that Time's going to catch up on workers. Now, Lambo is going to attack in, so he's actually going to try and run through here. Oh, he's into the natural. Well, the drop's going to get denied at the same time, so Lambo does turn that around over there. Natural expansion under fire, and we start to lose these SCVs. Now, a lot of these Lings will go down, but what will the Banes be able to do? They're going to roll up this ramp as well. They're out of range of the tanks, and they're actually going to hit the mineral line because Time has just assumed that this attack is over. Oh, only 12 SCVs. Honestly, feels like it could have been so much worse already. And Lambo is down a lot of supply on the back of that, so Lambo needs to start building some units again. Again, to me, this is very much so a case of he just built so many units before he built drones, and in trying to use them, he's not done that much. Time's army supply is 76 to 34. Lambo lost a lot of units in this attempted attack and this attempted harassment, and I do not think this is going to go well for Lambo here. This is going to be a tough hold. Doesn't matter the size of the map right now. Like, okay, reinforcements will take a while for Time to bring across, but yeah, this is a very much so a problem in his face. And all those advantages we talk about with the map, etc., they don't really apply in this current moment. As Ling Bane sets up to come in from the left, we're looking for the potential flank here to deal with this as best as possible. Queen still moving up the right-hand side. Marines pulling back a little bit. Ling Bane still coming through. Melee upgrades moments away from finishing up. Queen still fighting. Marines and Helibet still taking damage. We knock down the Helibet. In we go. The Ling Bane pressing through, trying to get on top of these siege tanks here. The Ling Bane on the left does nothing. The Ling Bane on the right is going to surge forward, but you know, Time can kite backwards off of creep, running away from life's problems. Oh yes. Lambo is in serious, serious trouble right now. I don't even know what you really do to fix this. Time is getting further ahead in upgrades as well. Feelings and Banes continue to run forward again here, so in they go. We try and flank with a couple units again. The numbers just aren't there. We're actually picking off some reinforcements, but nope, it is just not there. KAIZI Gaming's Time is going to get it done on Pride of Altaris to give KAIZI Gaming a big W. They improved to 2-0. Shopify Rebellion will drop to 1-1 in this season of World Team League. And what a best of 7 we ended up having between these two teams. 4-2 for the KAIZI Gaming squad to wrap up our first match of the day.